Hi all, Bones here from BSA Bantams, and welcome back. In this episode, what I'll be doing is working on the Sellicks Beach race bike, and it's time to get a body formed up. So I'll show you what I'm up to. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everything works. Let's go. So as I have said, I think in a previous episode on this Sellicks Beach race bike, I am trying to replicate a Rickman Matisse. Now, I've given this guy a plug before, Chris Strawn over at the Hagen factory. So I asked Chris, contacted him, and I said, hey, you guys have got a bull taco ended Rickman Matisse. Is there any chance of taking some pictures and some dimensions and things like that? And so he and his dad got together and they took all these pictures for me. But not only that, there's a video they took, and just running a tape measure over everything. So I've got all this great information to be able to start carving out what I've got to do. So thanks very much, Chris. I know you're probably watching, and to your dad too. Incredible amount of help. Thank you. Righty, don't adjust your volume or anything with the static. We've got rain on the roof. What this stuff is foam glass. It's a type of insulation, and it's pretty hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to carve this into a block, mount it up on the bike, and then start carving it from there to get the profile that I want. So I'll bring you around the back and show you what my first issue to overcome is. So if you have a look down there, and if you think that side's sticking out further than this side, you're exactly right. So there's an actual offset in the frame of the bike. So the rear swing arm, or not swing arm, but the rear frame bit is actually sticking out further that way to allow for your chain run and everything in between. So if you want to know by how much, just look at the position of these two stubs here, which are to mount your seat. So they're a bit offset. So my bodywork's going to have to be offset to sort of cover that, but my seat is going to have to be central somehow, and anyway, we'll work it out. We'll sort of carve into it. But anyway, I've got to mount this block up wide enough so I can carve it all the way to the back for the tail piece, and then I'll have another block glued on top of here as well for the tank, and then we'll start carving it all out. See how we go. So what I've got, I'll just move that around a bit. So what I've got in these dimensions here. Now they were taken by Chris and his dad on the video, so I was able to just do a rough sketch and get all the measurements where they put a tape measure over their bike. Interestingly enough, it is absolutely perfect to scale for this bike, which makes it really, really handy. So at the widest point where the seat is, it's 240 mil on the bull taco, and this one's 235, so it's 5 mil, only 5 mil difference. Total length, 1.25 meters. That's there. I sort of want the tail piece to finish sort of halfway between the sprocket and the wheel rim, so that's within about 10 or 15 mil as well. But interestingly enough, and I'll grab the tank. So the tank's going to sit up there, but I want everything through this plane, this line through here. And interestingly enough, it's 250 mil. The depth of the tank's 250 mil, and I'm going to get that by about 10 mil. So, well, actually that'll be a bit less because it's down about that far. I'll check it out off that. So I'll be able to get it. So I'm pretty happy. So it's time to start hacking up some of this and get into it. I've got to calm myself down a bit. I'm a little bit excited about getting into this, so just got to settle a bit. Right. There goes your tape measure. So we want about 250, 60, somewhere around there. Rightio. So that's done. Bloody hell, nearly going to be long enough. So I've got to cut a little V in the front of this to fit over the frame. Cut a bit off that, glue it on top to give me the depth of the tank. You probably didn't see any of that, did you? So there's our block sitting on there. I've now got to cut. I've got to cut a V down like that so it fits over the spine of the frame. But that's pretty easy. We'll get that marked out and we'll get that done. You can see what I'm sort of trying to achieve, and that is to get. I want a straight line through there, and maybe a kick up into the actual rear mudguard. And the criticality will be the height of the tank. So I've been chiseling a bit out, and I want this to sit down about another inch. So the actual top cover, well, actually having to think about it, I don't need it to sit down another inch because these side panels can go in. No, I'm going to bring it down another inch to cover all of this. Just sit it down because we're going to have like your fiberglass seat pan will be about that high, and then you're going to have a seat on top, like you put the actual padding for your seat on top. So, so far so good. Well, I've just got to carve a bit out around here, which I'll get a knife and I'll just scribe around, and then that way I can chisel it all out. So, going well. Oh, down on my ancient old knees. Now, this is the profile from scribing around the frame from underneath. So now we've just got to chisel it out. So we want to go. I want to sit underneath the sort of the line of the frame tube there. So we'll take about an inch out of it and see how this all sits down inside it. So there's our block on, not pretty. I cracked it up that end, so I've glued it back together, and I've just glued and staked a piece on the end, but with liquid nails. So you can see what I'm trying to achieve, like going through there. So now it's time to start channeling my inner Leonardo da Vinci and start carving it out. So I've just fitted up my tank. I don't know whether I'm in screen, but anyway, I've just fitted up my tank. Bring it around here. So I'm sort of sitting it on the bottom frame tube, somewhere about parallel. And what I've got to do is work out where the height of my tank filler cap is. So it'll be about there. That's about 600 and I'm going to call that 650. So 650 to there. Work out the height from under here. 170. So 750, that's 820. And we're about 795. So I've got to glue a little bit on top to get the height from the tank. You can see this coming out here because I cracked it through here. And so I've just got a couple of welding rods staking it through while it's gluing up. I've got some liquid nails onto it. So I need a height of 820. So chop a bit off, about 25mm on the top. And it's got to be 145 back from the edge of the 145. So that's going to be a full piece there to get the curve. It's all right. So I've got my other piece Jesus, bloody glued on up here. And I was actually looking at it, and when it's like all boxy and square like this, it looks like an aerial leader to me, but anyway, there it is. They're a bit different, so is this. Anyway, I'm going to start measuring out distances like tank length, seat length, sort of ducktail length, mark it out with some tape and just start carving while this liquid nails is all going off. So I'm just starting to run a bit of a profile across the front here, and I'll go around the other side in a sec, and do the same. This stuff works so easily. So, moving on this. I wouldn't say I'm going to be ripping into it, but steady as she goes, and we'll just get there. So around the other side now, match up this profile. And Chris Strawn, if you're watching, thanks so much, mate. These are so helpful. They really are. So before any of you start questioning my safety habits, I am wearing one of these. But it's pretty hard to talk on camera with one of these on unless you're an ex-pilot. What I've got to do now is we're starting to do some carving and it's starting to work out all right. This actually I'll get the other picture. So this is a Triumph Matisse, this one, and it's got a lot nicer sort of curve in it than I think the Bultaco one, which is really like a seam crease type thing. I want something a bit more gradual like that. So a bit of sandpaper wrapped around a can, and I'll start actually trying to get that profile into here and start washing away a bit of this. We've hacked a fair bit of it away, but you know, this stuff it's pretty good to work with. So yeah, we'll try and get that little wash out in there and see how we go. So I'm starting to get a bit of a profile in there, which is what I wanted. I've just given that a smooth off, but this tank has to be a lot more tapered than that with a fair drop off. And there's a bit of a band around. You see on both these, like in between the seat and the actual tank. She's sort of flat and just got that nice rounded off bit, so I've got to start tackling into that. If you're wondering what these things are, it's a bit of the fence and wire had lying around because it's just started to move because I liquid nailed that on, so I've just staked it. I've got to get a bit more off here, around here, and obviously go around and do the other side. Just it looks way too bulky at the moment, but I'm just looking at that picture a bit off through here as well. Have to sand a bit off there to remove a bit of that bulk. Just get that nice shape down. But anyway, it's progressing pretty well. I'm happy with that sort of profile in there. And we'll just keep going. Steady as she goes. So that's our tank formed. My apologies for going handheld. I don't have a gyro camera. So you can see the split up through there where it cracked, but it's all glued back together. The top piece, just to give myself the extra 15mm that I need for to make up the gap for the fuel tank. Sorry, so the fuel tank can come out of the top. I'll do a double check on that because it just sounds off really well. But it looks pretty symmetrical, and I'm pretty happy. So now to get into this side of it. So next day, it was bloody freezing. We had hail overnight. And it's still laying around on the ground now. It's bloody terrible. But anyway, I have started to profile the rear guard and the seat. Now my big problem is the frame's not symmetrical, so I've got to try and somehow get some sort of symmetry in it. Otherwise, the seat will have to be sort of like offset. So anyway, we'll see how we go. We'll just keep carving away, and we'll get into it. Rightio, so we're getting in up to the back end now. I've just scribed a line for a seat profile. Reasonably happy with this section up here. This is going to have to go around a bit more. When I was talking about it being out of symmetry, it actually looks a lot better by eye than what I expected it to be, so that's a win. It wasn't sort of planned that way. I just sort of carved and walked out the back and had a look and thought, oh, this is looking all right. So I've got to remove a bit of this bulk, this mass around here, and streamline things a bit for the rear mudguard and the back of the seat. But it's going all right. I've got a few minor issues here where I went a bit close. I'll have to build that up with fibreglass when we do the mould. But really, I am actually pretty happy. So there's a bit of dressing off, make things a bit more symmetrical here and there, but we're still roughing, so I'm not too worried about that. Keep it going. All right, so this is what we have ended up with. I am pretty happy. Things like, and I'll show you once we get up on those little steps up there, it actually looks symmetrical, which I'm really happy about. Little bits like here that break out, once I get this off the frame, I'll be able to patch that. And because the whole idea is to have this over the frame. So it got a bit thin there because I had to carve out underneath because there's brackets and up in here. So there's brackets sitting up internally in here. So it was a bit of a trade-off. I've V'd all that out because I'm about to put some body filler in to fix up all these spots where I stuck wires through and things like that. The tail come out all right. Now on the tail that Chris Strawn sent me, it's very, very square and defined, the actual planes that this are on, and it's really hard to replicate because this stuff you just, just touch it and it's and it comes away. So I found it really hard to get the lines and the square So I've opted to try and sort of get that profile like the Bull Taco, but just round it because it blends up really nicely. So symmetry wise, I think it looks pretty good. So I'll just kick these out of the way and move around. So down this side I've got a bit of bog work to do in there, a bit of body filler and a bit of sanding. Not too worried about that. I'm very happy with the profile of my seat, because if we have a look at the pictures, especially that one, you can see how the seat kicks up at the back. So I initially thought, to be honest, that the tank looked very, I'm just walking backwards here, so the tank looked a little bit bulky, but you've got to remember the seat's going to be about that high, like 3 to 4 inches high. So I think it'll take a bit of the look of that being a bit bulky out of it. I have to go through, as I said, some body filler into all these little nooks and crannies, and another patchy job just in here. However, what's happened overnight is it's been absolutely freezing cold. We had a massive hailstorm last night, and at 10 o'clock in the morning the hail's still banked up where the sun hasn't hit it yet. So I glued this up yesterday and it hasn't quite dried properly. So I have V'd that out like a well prep to be able to put the bog in there. So it'll be all right. But generally, I'll squat down a bit. You can see I achieved what I wanted, which is basically have the line there and a bit of a kick up there on the mudguard, ducktail, whatever you want to call it, at the back. So a fair bit of work in that, but yeah, pretty happy. So from a bloody freezing cold workshop at the moment, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. So from here, what I will do is some body filler, dress that off, coat of high fill, the couple of little patch jobs I showed you, coat of high fill primer, like huge amount, sand back, and then my buck's ready. This will be mounted up onto a board. Then I can fiberglass it, and then that'll give me the mold. But I'll show you all the fiberglassing and everything like that in another episode. So I've got a ride on this week. I've got friends coming next weekend, so I won't be putting anything out for at least a couple of weeks. So anyway, thank you to everyone. Hit like and subscribe. And before I head off, a final thank you to Chris Strawn over at the Hagen Factory. And if you haven't gone over and had a look at his channel, do so, because he does a lot of stuff like us, old bikes, flat trackers. His dad's they're doing a B31 and a Triumph at the moment, and Velocets and things like that. So if you're interested in those old bikes, get over to his channel. So Chris, thanks very, very much once again. This wasn't possible without all the pictures you sent me, so thanks very much. Bye-bye.